Hey guys, it's Ricky and I'm back again, or Baby Doll Lady Fun Size, and I'm back again with another lesson for it's all about that face, our face painting series, along with Aphrodite Productions and the Nuance Society of Dance. Baby Doll Ladies, we have gotten together and decided we want to give you guys everything you need to help you put that best face forward. So let's get into our lesson today. So today we're talking about the airbrush and deep cleaning the airbrush. So first of all, what is an airbrush? It is a tool used by artists to apply color to a surface. All right, airbrushes can be used to color any surface, add any color, any paint, anywhere. It uses air and liquid paint to apply colors in layers and creating effects with blending colors across gradients. Artists use a variety of media when using the airbrush, such as watercolors, makeup, oil-based paints, and acrylics. Most paints can be thinned down and applied with an airbrush. Think about it in these terms. When if a person gets their car repainted or painted, they use what we will call an industrial size airbrush. They call it a spray paint gun. It's really an airbrush, right? So your objective for your lesson today is that by the end of the lesson, you will be able to spot clean and deep clean your airbrush. Spot cleaning means that you're going to put some acid, not acetone, but you're going to put some alcohol or even glass cleaner or any other cleaning agent for the airbrush that is safe to use for your airbrush. That means you're going to put it in there, spot clean, just you're cleaning it so that if you're going to change to another color or just to make sure that you're maintaining and cleaning between people coming to sit in your chair, it's always good to do a spot clean. So spot cleaning is easy. It's the deep clean we're going to talk about tonight. So let's talk about your airbrush cleaning, your do's and don'ts. So what you can do is you can use denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol or acetone to spot clean and clean the gun before changing colors. So we call airbrushes, sometimes a lot of people say guns, so please just know it's going to be interchangeable. But what you can't do is you cannot use a lot of these chemicals to deep clean your airbrush other than the alcohol. And the reason why is because over time, those are chemicals that will break down the parts in your airbrush. The airbrush has very small parts that fit together to build your airbrush gun. So you can see the airbrush at the bottom. So like for instance, you have this is a little pressure foot. That pressure foot is small. So over time, if you use a harsh chemical, you're gonna break that part and that component down. Those harsh chemicals will wear down tips. It will wear down internal components to your airbrush that we can't even get to that may be there. So you want to be careful about deep cleaning and over time the type of cleaners that you use in your airbrush. Never use straight ammonia. That's a no-no. And don't use ammonia at all, even if you cut it with water. Ever, it will degrade and erode your airbrush. Like again, as I said, over time, harsh chemicals will erode your airbrush's internal parts. You can use Windex or window cleaner to clean your airbrush. It has very little ammonia in it, but after you clean your airbrush with this, you need to flush it out with water. You can also use or order professional airbrush cleaners from Amazon, or you could visit Hobby Lobby or Michaels. You can also use isopropyl alcohol to deep clean your airbrush. For me, this is what Miss Ricky used. I use the Mona Lisa brush cleaner and conditioner. It is to clean paint brushes. Please excuse the little demon of Daniel Street with the yip yips. Okay, thank you. Thank you, baby. You adding your 2 cents in? Okay, thank you. So I happen to use this to clean my airbrushes with only because I like the fact that because it is used to clean brushes, it has a set of conditioners in it. So it helps to lubricate my internal parts of my airbrush. So this is why I personally use it, but I also use a different type of airbrush than what I'm going to be using the model, which is a industrial, I'm going to say artist, really professional grade to use for art and exhibits, like that type of artwork. I prefer to use this to clean that type of airbrush. So when I come back onto the screen, I'm actually going to have the airbrush that M ordered for everybody that she assigned teams to. She ordered this airbrush right here, which is called Beauty Airbrush System. I broke down this airbrush for the demo and your development time tonight. Okay. However, I am going to come back and do another deep clean demo because this airbrush was clean. I just broke it apart so you can see what it looks like broken apart and taking you through how to really deep clean the parts and components. That's what's going to be in development. What I'm going to do, and that's just to prepare you guys for the photo shoot that's this weekend, deep cleaning these airbrushes before you turn these back into M. Okay, what I'm going to say is I'm going to do another video where I'm going to take one of my funky, dirty airbrushes and I'm going to break that apart and clean it. Because a lot of people are ordering the double action airbrushes, and that airbrush, it's modeled just like airbrushes that are typically used. I'm going to break one of those double action airbrushes that I have. I'm going to break that gun down for you so that you can actually see what a funky, dirty airbrush looks like once you have used it over time. I'm going to tell you, deep cleaning your airbrush. First of all, spot cleaning your airbrush between people sitting in your chair. You need to do that. Spot cleaning your airbrush if you're going to change colors. If you don't want your colors to blend and mix, or for that new color to pick up the old color, you got to spot clean in between. Then before you pack up everything for us to go to the next thing or to go perform, and you're packing up your tools, you want to flush that airbrush and spot clean it again before you put it away. Okay? I'm going to tell you, as a person that has not done that, I've had to throw away airbrushes because once acrylic paints and some of the paints that I've used, and I'm talking about for airbrushing me for artistic purposes, like canvas or even illustration board, me not cleaning my airbrush, that was on me. I've had to throw airbrushes out because the acrylic paint has been packed in so much, I can't deep clean it. Even soaking it is not going to help me deep cleaning. So you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success and that you're protecting your tool to use it. Please just learn from me. Don't do some of the things that I've done, but then again, you know what they say, when you learn more, you do better. So as you go along and you work with the tools and you develop your understanding of the tools and how the tools work, you will be surprised how you develop an understanding of taking care of your tools, because this is what needs to go in your toolbox. So we want to make sure that we protect your airbrush guns at all costs. And that means spot cleaning, deep cleaning. So the next time you see me on screen, I'm deep cleaning your airbrush. All right, let's go. Hi guys, so I'm back for our development piece, and I actually have the airbrush that am assigned to everyone, which is the Beauty Airbrush System. I'm actually using this airbrush. I broke it down already, and now I'm getting ready to clean it. So, like I introduced in the beginning part of the video, you can use your isopropyl alcohol to deep clean. You can also use your glass cleaner, but don't forget you need to flush out your airbrush, and I'm going to suggest for both of these items, flush it out with water after. For me, on a personal basis, when I do clean my airbrushes, I use this. This is Mona Lisa, and the reason why I use it is because, yes, it cleans brushes, but it also conditions my parts. Airbrushes are like, I'm going to say for artists, an airbrush is like a car engine, so to speak. It has all these little moving parts that help to make it work, and the more you maintain and condition it, the very best you're going to get out your airbrush. So if you take care of your airbrush, that's like anything that you have, if you take care of your airbrush, it will take care of you. But for this demonstration and for the sake of the people that are using this type of airbrush, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the glass cleaner. So we're going to use glass cleaner to clean this airbrush. What I do like about this airbrush is that it comes with a variety of these little brushes. So you don't need to get any pipe cleaners for this. It comes with the brushes so that you'll be able to get into these small pieces and clean it out. So the first time I did was I actually broke down the airbrush. And I'm going to suggest to everyone, please, 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 do not break down the airbrush unless you're on top of a towel or some type of textured mat, because these little bitty pieces, when they go rolling, it's very hard to find them. I'm telling you from experience. So let's talk about the parts of your airbrush, right? So this little spring, I'm talking about these little small parts. You got to make sure that all your little parts are together, from your tips, your tip housing, your needles, your rocker foot, that's what we used to call it, your presser foot, and of course the main body of your airbrush. all of these parts need cleaning. So let's say if your needle is dirty, all you do is you take your cleaner. I use paper towels, or I use towels that's designated for art. And I'm just going to make sure that I clean that needle. And you want that needle to look good. What I am going to do is I'm going to send another video a little bit later of what it really looks like to clean a really dirty airbrush. But for the sake of this demonstration, the fact that I've never used this airbrush before, and this is what M has assigned to you guys, I thought it fitting for you to learn how to break this down and clean it first. The next thing I want to do is, and sometimes I've taken and I've just sprayed my pieces. That's why I like working with a towel, and I just start scrubbing and cleaning. You'll be surprised how paint winds up in different places. This is a top feed airbrush. So I'm going to put a little of the cleaner in there. I'm going to take my brush, this nice big one, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start swishing it around and cleaning. I'm going to take another size brush and get it in there because you want to get all of the paint out of the crevices, and you want to scrub. You also want to take and you want to scrub where your presser foot and the rocker goes. You want to scrub that, make sure that's clean, because what an airbrush does is, and that's the beauty of an airbrush, that's why I really do like using it, is that this needle is the rock star. This needle is the rock star. And why is it the rock star? Because your paint travels down this needle, and it's directed through the tip and through the tip housing. This is the rock star. Without this needle, your paint is not going to travel outside that airbrush. Okay, so you got to make sure that your needles are always good. Needles are replaceable. I don't know what size needle for this particular airbrush and if this particular airbrush, but it should have needles that are replaceable for you to order. The next thing I like to do is I just spray my items and I just start scrubbing and cleaning it out. This part right here, this is on the back of your airbrush. This protects your needle. So you'll be surprised. Paint will probably travel into this area. It's happened with my airbrushes before, so it's probably going to do it again. And basically the whole point of your airbrush is you want to take these brushes, you want to make sure that you're scrubbing those things. If your tip is clogged, my suggestion is you get a little container, put some isopropyl alcohol in it. You take it and you let it sit and you swish it, and then you make sure that you just start cleaning and scrubbing it. It'll help get your tip clean. The same thing, this part right here, this is the housing for your tip on your airbrush. Now, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, as an artist, when I'm painting gallery pictures and photos, I'll take this part off because that spray that I need from the airbrush to get a certain type of effect, that's what I want. But typically, we keep this on, right? It helps to make sure that your needle, your tip, and everything is coming out the proper way towards the front. And then this is another added layer of protection for the tip. So this tip is small. You see how pointy it is? If that point on that tip should ever become flawed, you got to replace that tip. That's best practice, because if not, you're not going to get the paint control that you want, and your paint is going to splatter and spray all over the way. All right, so now I'm going to do this rocker foot right here. This right here, I call this the rocking mechanism. You can go in here with this small one and just scrub. And just scrub. Now, it's going to be a little tight because it's a little tight for me too. But you want to scrub as much as you can. Even if you have to go through the back side of it, try to scrub as you can. All right, your needle is housed in this. This is what helps your needle direct that paint, right? It keeps your needle in place so that you can get that air in that paint at the same time. Usually your towel will work real well. You just got to get in there and clean your pieces. Clean your pieces. This is your pressure foot. This is what determines how your air and your paint is going to flow out. This little piece here, I'm going to tell y'all, it's going to be a mug to get it back in there, because I hate putting this back. But if you really want your airbrush to be clean, you got to break it down and do the deep cleaning. Okay, so now let's say I'm done cleaning my airbrush. Now I'm going to put my pieces back together. The first thing I can do is I can put my tip back in. I'm going to put it in its housing unit. I'm going to screw the whole unit on together. I'm just going to screw that back together. Okay. The next thing is, I'm telling y'all right now, you're going to have to look through the back of the airbrush and you're going to have to, this little white piece is going to have to stick straight down for you to get it back in there. You got to look through the back of the airbrush. You have to make sure that this opening is facing you. This opening right here, if you can see it. It's so hard to see. If you see this little opening, you got to see this opening. This is where your needle goes in. So you're going to have to make sure that when you put it back in the airbrush, that you are checking that you are putting it back straight up. It's going to go in this area right here. You got to look for the hole where it fits, and you're going to drop it back down into that hole. Don't forget, the space has to face you, and it's going to take you a few tries to get it in, because it's going to take me a few tries to get it in as well. But I'm looking at the top down, I'm looking through the back, and I just keep missing it, but I'm going to get it in there. Because what happens is, once you get it in, then you have to press on that foot, press it down so that you can put the needle back in. So this is going to take you a minute to get in, and it's taking me a minute, so I'm going to be right back. I'll have this placed the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll move on. All right, guys, we're back, and I finally won the good fight and got it in there, okay? So the presser foot's back in. I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to insert, or make sure I put in my rocker foot mechanism. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. So this helps your airbrush rock back and forth like this, like that, okay? This is what that does. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this spring back in, followed by this housing mechanism. So this is your spring housing right here for your airbrush. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to screw that in. Putting the airbrush back together, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this down. I'm inserting my needle. Make sure I'm good. All right, there we go. You push your needle all the way till you feel like it's almost to the tip. This little piece right here, this is what balances your needle in the airbrush. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to tighten that up. And it also attaches to that rocker mechanism, so that helps with that back and forth rocking, and it helps to keep it level, just like that. So, and I'm going to put my back piece on. Sometimes you'll see me work with my airbrush without this back piece on, because this is just to protect this, and a lot of times I feel like it just gets in my way, but that's just me. Alrighty, so the airbrush is back together. We just did a deep clean. Now, what would I do with this after I put it back together and done? Well, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this airbrush and I'm going to flush this out with water. So your little unit here, give me 1 second. Here we go. My little unit right here, I'm going to screw this in, or the larger one, put some water in here and flush it through. This will be a completely deep clean airbrush by the time we get done. What I'm going to do is, this is a quickie. I'm going to do another lesson where I'm going to take one of my old funky airbrushes. I'm going to take a funky one to let y'all see it. Take a funky one and let y'all see the deep, how a real deep clean goes on a funky airbrush. This was real quick, so you guys can have this in your arsenal for Saturday after the photo shoot. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do a model on a dirty airbrush so you could truly see. I'm going to do a double action airbrush for that, because some of us are purchasing double action airbrushes. So I'll do a double action airbrush for that, just so you guys can see the difference between this type. It's a single action. It's more for makeup, and the other ones that some of them are built for makeup, but they're double actions. So I'm going to be doing a model or a presentation on that as well. So when we come back, we're going to close out our session for all about that face deep cleaning this airbrush. Stay tuned. All right, guys, and we're back. And so you just saw me demo breaking apart, cleaning a deep clean model, and putting back together the airbrush that M had ordered for those of you who are who are have people assigned to you to base their faces and help paint their faces for our upcoming events. Don't forget about our do's and don'ts. Make sure if you have to, you can pause the video again. Just make sure that you're careful with the things that you're using for your airbrush, especially if you checked out an airbrush with M. You got to be very careful how you clean it, because you got to make sure you return it to her the way she gave it to you. For those of you who have your own airbrushes, if you want to use something other than glass cleaner or alcohol, I'm going to suggest to you that you do your research. I'm not going to tell you what to get, what to buy. All I know is what I've used and what's worked for me over the years and how I take care of my airbrushes. Because I know that at any time M says, look, Ricky, I need you. And if you could bring your extra airbrushes, because I want to have everything to the big compressor where we can run 8 guns. I want to make sure all my 8 guns are ready for action and ready for the scene. So I really hope that you guys got a lot out of our lesson today. Like I said again, I'm going to come back. I'm going to do another deep clean on the old funky nasty airbrush. I'm just going to pull one out. And don't forget, I thank you guys for watching. And remember to always put your best face forward. You can't put your best face forward if your airbrush is not working. So make sure that you most importantly take care of your tools, and your tools will take care of you. And on that note, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, day, morning, whichever time you watch this video. And I'll see you on the other side. And on that, we are out and smooches. Have fun, y'all.